One of the reasons we have so much division in the church is because people don't allow other people to live by their own conscience. One of the things that we see Paul often saying is that there are weak Christians and there are strong Christians. And a lot of people want to interpret that as the weak Christian is the person who is given to sin or given to lust or doesn't isn't is finds it hard to live the Christian life. That is not what Paul's talking about. Paul is actually calling the strong person the person who fully understands their grace, embraces the grace of Christ, and lives their life with the freedom knowing that they are not bound by the law. A lot of your weak Christians are the people who don't understand the grace that's been given to them. Every single thing makes them afraid. They're afraid that everything they're doing is sin. They're constantly evaluating. You'll see people who think that maybe Christians should still worship on the Sabbath. Other people are convinced that you can't have music in the church. You can't have instruments. It has to be a cappella. Other people who think that we should live by the dietary laws or have the feast, whatever their conscience is dictating, and because they feel that they should be that way, they think everyone should be that way. These are the weak Christians. These are the people who don't understand their grace. The strong Christian knows that if God hasn't forbid you from doing it, you can do it. It's okay. If there's not a specific law saying you can't, then you can. And when I say law, I mean obviously good common sense. When we think about the New Testament, it says that love, there's no law against love, and that the new believer, endued with the new Spirit, Spirit of Christ, is a law unto themselves because they naturally do the right thing. We know by the Spirit of God what is right and what is wrong, and we don't need a law to guide us. In Jeremiah chapter 10, it says that you shouldn't cut down a tree, drag it into your house, nail it down, put tinsel on it, and obviously the interpretation would suggest it's talking about idols. They're making idols and they're putting them in their homes. But when I read it, it sounded like a Christmas tree to me. And ever since I read that, I haven't had a Christmas tree in my house. Not one. My parents, I would say, are more devout than I am. And they celebrate Christmas every year. They have a tree and they do all the Christmas things. And I go home and I let them obey their own conscience about how to serve God. And me, I obey my conscience in how to serve God. Last year, I thought, I know I have liberty. I know I have grace. If I want to have a Christmas tree, I can have a Christmas tree. And I went to the store and I looked at them and I felt a knot in my stomach. And I said, nope, can't do it. Not doing it. Can't do it. It's against my own conscience. So I cannot have a Christmas tree. That is my weakness. My conscience says I can't do it, so I don't do it. But God has not granted me the right to force every other Christian to live according to my conscience. God has granted grace to everyone, and they are allowed to decide for themselves how that grace will manifest itself in their life. The thing I would say to most Christians is quit trying to decide what's right and wrong for other Christians. You have a conscience. God's given you specific instructions that you're not to do certain things. You shouldn't participate in certain things. Then don't do it. That doesn't mean God said everyone has to live this way. There may be a specific weakness in your life and in your conscience and in the way you understand the world, that if you participate in certain things, it might lead you astray. But that doesn't mean it's going to lead everyone astray. So show some grace, show some dignity, allow other Christians to follow their own faith and follow their own heart and conscience. And the way you make your stand about what you think is right is by living it and choosing it for yourself. Quit judging other Christians. Quit trying to control other people. Love your neighbors. Love your other Christians. Be a good, decent person. Don't allow your weakness to infect your relationship with your other believers. And that's what I try to do. I try to allow people to be who they are. Let Christ be their judge, because every one of us is responsible to Christ alone. We're not responsible to our pastor. We're not responsible to our parents. We're not responsible to the judgmental neighbor or whoever is criticizing us. The only judge we have is Christ, because we individually are servants of Christ. We're not servants of our church or parishioners or anybody else. So pray, let Christ lead you, and don't try to manipulate other people's conscience. It's not right. That God did not put you here for that. Thanks a lot. Bye.